So first and foremost, if you don't even see time tracking as available on your app there, go to your settings. So the little cog up in the top corner, click on that and go to your practice settings, and then look for time tracking. As you'll see here, it'll be below activity log. If you still don't see it, it may mean that you need to upgrade your service. It is not available on the double light, so the lowest available option that they have, it's not on that. You need to at least be in core for time tracking to become available. And if you're still not seeing it and you need to reach out to double support, the super admin on your account will need to reach out to them to help get that turned on.
For sure. Always appreciate starting there because I went into one of our demos this morning and was like, I don't even see the button. So figured anybody else in that boat might need a little bit of a help as well.
Yeah. And then real quick, touching base on some important settings within that time tracking, in that practice settings. And we're going to show you how to get there in the demo at the end, but we wanted to give you some screenshots to start out here. So in there, you've got these basic settings. First and foremost, turn it on. If you want to use it, you got to turn it on, and then it'll be visible to your users. You can opt to have notifications turned on, and we'll show you what those look like. But what this does is it turns on like a pop-up reminder when you change screens or change pages, and it'll ask you if you want to start a timer or change your timer. But it kind of gives you that prompt, and it helps if you're like me and you forget to turn them on. That prompt always helps to keep me on track there. You can also do some restrictions. So you can restrict standard users from being able to edit their time entries. Admins have access to edit time entries for all users. But if you want to lock that down for standard users, you can do that. And then also you can lock by a timed date. So if you have everybody entering their time in, and then at the end of the month, you lock it so nobody can adjust it or make changes or add more time. Some people use this for payroll. So you can lock that down so it keeps it all the same. And then moving forward, they can continue to add and edit time until again, you come in here and edit the date that you want that to be locked to.
Yep, another important thing to understand is that admins can go in and see and edit and delete timers for all users, even if you lock standard users or regardless of whether
Yes.
you lock standard users or not. So that's always available to admins on the team. So just know that that restriction is, do you want the user themselves to be able to go edit a timer if, say, they left it on all night and forgot to go in? So you can kind of decide best practice there.
Yeah. All right, so those notifications that I mentioned, these are pop-up windows that lay over the top of whatever page you're on. When you first navigate from the client list into into a close page, into one of your clients, this pop-up will happen to prompt you to select a work stream, add notes, whatever it may be, and then start your timer. If you forget to stop the timer and you navigate to a different page, you will get one of these two notifications that says, hey, you switched clients. Do you want to switch your timer? Or you switched away from clients. Maybe you went back to the client page or client list. Maybe you went over to the tasks tab. Or maybe you're doing some other kind of work in a different area of double. Then it'll prompt you here and ask again if you want to switch your timer to something else or just end it. So I love those
Honestly,
reminders.
this has saved my butt way more times than I would like to admit as a human being. But massively helpful to have that reminder and that prompt if you do switch over to a different page, just having that pop up either when you initially start your client work, as a little bit of a habit trainer, for, hey, I clicked on this client page. Do you want to start a timer? Yes, most of the time I do, but I usually forget. And then if you switch pages, that prompting can really help on that side as well.
Yes. Yeah. Once you do have your timer started, the timer box or area in the top of the app is going to be green and you'll see that clock running. In addition to that, though, in your browser tab, you have a clock running here as well. So if you are tabbing through and doing different things, going to different apps, going to different places, if you have your tabs open like this, you'll still see that clock running. So you got two different places where you'll have that timer kind of a visual cue that it's running.
Okay, so work streams is a really common question when we start to dive into time tracking or start getting questions about it. So by default, if we don't edit anything, there are automatic work streams, or think about them as like time categories for the period that you're working on, right? So the close, the May close, or the February close, or something like that. There's plenty of people who just use that category. Everything feeds in, and that's the category that we use. So that's not a wrong way to do it. That's the default. Plenty of people use it like that. But we can go ahead and separate out, create additional work streams if we want to add more categories or differentiations so that we can do like different reporting on the backside, or want to be able to monitor how long payroll takes for us or other things like that. So we're going to go through a couple of Workstream examples now, in case you would like to go beyond just doing this closing period and adding a note on it. So within work streams, there are firm work streams and then there are client work streams. So firm, think about it as non-client related work or just general work that you're doing within your firm. You can get as specific as you would like in here, and I have not found the limit for work streams. You can create as many as you want. Just understand that you're going to have to scroll through them. So that can be your limiter there. But this could be things like admin, social media or marketing, sales, team meetings, working on your workflows and processes, things like that that are not specific to a client that I don't want to attribute to one single client. It's like for the firm as a whole. And then if we look at client work streams, this is another area that we can get a little bit more nuanced in. So if we do different services like AR, AP, payroll, sales tax, W-9s, we may want to categorize our time in those different work streams or buckets to be able to look at how long payroll is taking us, or be able to see and kind of track over time if something is starting to take longer and longer and longer. So you can absolutely add these for different services or scopes that you offer. We can also do things like cleanups, or maybe we want to track our client communication and how long that's taking us, or onboarding. We can do, again, lots of different things here. Some people even separate out their weekly bookkeeping there at the bottom, apart from the closing work that we do at month end. So none of these are any that you have to create initially, but just to provide some context on what you might create categories around if you want to be able to separate out into different buckets.
Yeah. I kind of equate this to when you're building out a chart of accounts and you've got your parent account, and do you want everything to go into that main account, or do you need subcategories? Do you need to know all the nuanced details of how things are broken down? And just like every client's going to be different, every firm is going to be different. So please definitely use this as inspiration. If you're wanting to break it down into more detail, use your work streams to capture that detail. Otherwise, it's perfectly fine to use defaults or just use a few primary categories and use notes to capture more detail there if you wish.
That's a great example for the parent account and sub account. I think that's a really nice parallel for like, how do I want to think about this and categorize? And honestly, if in doubt, start with less, and then you can
Hmm.
always branch out and break out more if you need to.
Yes. And then to edit your time entries, there are two places this can be done. So the standard user, they're going to most likely just use the top one. And I'll show this when we open up our demo. But in either place that you go to access this table, from this table showing you all of your timers, you just simply click on that line and it'll show you what's editable. So you can change the date, the time, and then the number of hours automatically calculates based on your start and end. This is not one that you can come here and say, okay, I worked for an hour and a half and just plug that in. You do have to enter in your start and finish times. You can edit the client, you can edit the work stream, you can mark it billable or uncheck it billable, you can add notes. Um, if you do anything with the start and end times here, it's going to show that it was edited on the side. So there is a column here for admin, for everybody to be able to see whether that timer has manually been um, edited or
Adjusted.
adjusted.
Mhm.
Yep. Um, and if you are an admin or a manager who has access to more than one user's timers, you're going to see that here. So there's ways to filter and all of that. If you accidentally start a timer and you're like, oh, I don't need it in here, there's also the ability to delete it. Uh, and then if you forgot to add a timer, there is a way to click and manually enter in all of this information as well. So if you forgot to add it or you forgot to start it, you can come in and manually log that. Again, you can't just type in the number of hours. That is a feature request that is out there. But for now, we've got to add in the date and time.
Yeah, and we'll show you exactly where to go to edit
Yep.
those in your options here in the demo here in a second.
And there is a way that you can export this information. We'll share that in the demo as well, but you can export it. They do now have two options for that. One is a rounded, I think it's to 2 decimal points, and then the other is not rounded. So it's a little bit more precise to, very specific timing. So use that for your preference, but that will export it into a CSV for you to be able to do
Go
whatever
into
you
your
need to with
payroll
it. Yeah,
software or do some more advanced number crunching or whatever you would like
yeah,
to with there. So it doesn't have to stay inside of Double. We can export that.
exactly. All right, let me switch over to our demo.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go ahead and answer a quick question from Kate. So when we were talking about work streams, those are organized alphabetically, just like the templates are, right? So really good parallel there. This does mean that special characters, so your asterisk, your exclamation points come before alphabet, numbers come before alphabet, and emojis come before alphabet as well. So if you want to kind of get your own organization or create like a faux folder system, you could do something with a yellow emoji in front of all of these so they stack together, even if they're not alphabetical. So a little bit nerdy answer there. But Kate, if you're wanting to arrange those in a specific way outside of the alphabet, you most commonly is numbers or emojis in front.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other
Um,
questions before we kind of recap where we went through the slides?
yeah, not related to time trackers, so we'll circle
Okay.
back to another question, but go ahead.
Okay, so I'll try not to do this too fast, but comment in the chat if you need me to slow down. Because we just reviewed it. I just want to show you where in the system all of these buttons are. So to enable it, you're going to come up to your practice settings. That's that settings wheel in the top corner. Click there, and you're going to look for that time tracking here. This is where you have those basic settings, those general settings to turn on, enable, turn off, whatever you want to. This is also where you're going to set up those work streams. So here's the list of client work streams. Once you've got them in there, you just click to edit. If you want to edit them, you can delete them over here on the side. Um, firm work streams are next. And then the last piece that is in the settings here is a space where you can add your client rates if that's something that you're tracking in here. You also have the ability to add client rates from your timers tab in the system as well. If you choose to enable this time lock, then this is what's going to pop up and you get the option to select that date and even the time that that's going to lock. So anything prior to this period, nobody can edit. If it's after that period, it's fair game for being manipulated or adjusted if needed.
Exactly. And the most common use case that I see is that if you've already paid out that
Yeah.
period, maybe don't allow editing because we've already paid it out. So that may be, if you're wondering why you might use that, that may be your indicator there.
And then that brings us over to our timers tip. Actually, nope, I'm gonna stop. So up here at the very top is where you can start a timer if you're not in a client page. This is always available. So on any page, this is a locked part of the bar. It'll always be available at the top to click to start a timer. Right next to it is a place to view all of your timers. So a lot of people will just go to this, especially if it's just their own timers that they need to look at. So most standard users will use this. You can filter it. You can use this to filter by date. Here's another way to filter by date. You can check to see if you have an active timer going. Here's the export button here. There's lots you can do. All of the tables have been getting those upgrades to be able to edit and arrange and move around. So
Sort.
it's a good table there. Let's see, you can also reset those filters if needed. Um, yeah. If you are an admin, if you're a manager, somebody who is helping to manage other team members, you need to have more visibility across more users, you're going to be coming over to your timers tab here at the top. From here, you will have, so admins and super admins will have access to every user in here. And then you can filter down if you want to see by specific person. I believe managers, you can determine whether they have that. I think that's part of your settings here in manage users. I thought it was. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's only about the clients they have. Just going to touch base real quick. So here's one that they just added this quick button to see your own timers. So that's a new button that they just added to be able to filter this down just to your own if you're somebody who has lots of them.
And then really quick before we go to recording,
Yeah,
let's just click on like start time or client. If you realize, oh, I logged that under the wrong client. A lot of people are looking for like a pencil icon. You just click in the
just
actual
click.
cell that you want to change. So just
It's
want to
kind,
make sure that that's like super abundantly
yeah,
clear.
it's kind of similar to when you're editing a transaction. In there. You just click into that area that you're wanting to edit. And if it's available, so like here, I can't click. It won't let me change that, but I can click here to add the time
Yeah.
and the date.
The other thing I want to
And
show while we're here, that's editing timers. The export is over on the right-hand side by reset filters. And then the add timer is up on the right-hand side as well. Jody, one update that I saw while I was in there dinking around this morning was if you go to add timer, you can choose a duration. So right here, you can enter in 2 hours or
brand
you can toggle. I know,
new.
brand new. So I wanted to mention that.
Yes.
If you are adding a timer after the fact and you're like, shoot, I don't know exactly when I started, but I know I worked on it for 35 minutes, then you can go in and edit that now or have that option outside of the start and end timers. So that one's pretty fun.
Check it out. I
All
love
right.
it.
And then that change column that we were talking about
That's amazing.
shows these are not edited, this one is edited, and this one was added as opposed to like tracked using the start time. So quick column there, but can be really helpful to just see over time what was adjusted and what was not, which is really nice for kind of managerial roles here. Okay, so with that, I just want to make sure that that was added in there for everybody that needed it. The other thing I think is worth noting, reporting can be its own rabbit hole itself. So use with caution. Some people just use timers. That's all. I really don't use reporting. I don't use anything past it. I keep track of time here in Double because that's where all of my tasks are. So it makes sense to have that all in one system. And then I just export it out to Gusto, to QBO, to whatever. Okay, so you can stop
Yeah.
there. You can go in and add like your employee rate, how much you're paying per employee or employees per hour, and add like your client rate to be able to do some reporting for effective hours. lead rate and stuff like that using the timers that you have. So you can go one step deeper, but I want to let everybody have permission to pause there. If you're like, yeah, I would love to get to that point where I'm looking at my effective hourly rate, but I'm not there. I'm barely using timers. That's okay. You can stop there and just use this. It can be one of those that grows with you. So at least wanted to give permission there.
All right.
Perfect. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to add here. We talked about those work streams being added alphabetically. We talked about that reporting, or if you go into timers and then settings, that's where you can enter in your different rates for clients and employees. The other thing I wanted to cover really quickly that just to add visibility is Jody, you did a great job about on like the client list and on this page, you can hit start timer. Let's go into a client page to see what that pop-up looks like or how to start a timer on that page. And then I have one more sneaky place that you can start a timer that I found yesterday. So I want to highlight that as well. Okay, so if we click into a client, if you have that pop-up notification enabled, then it will pop it up right immediately as you pop on that page, and it will automatically fill in client and Workstream. You can edit that, right? It's going to default to the close period that you're working on, but then you can go in and change that category or Workstream, add any notes, mark it as billable, or switch over to firm work if you're just using that as a reference page. So lots of different options there with the actual pop-up. Now, if you don't have that pop-up or notification enabled, then it's still going to be up there on the right-hand side, start timer. So you can do that at any point, even if you don't have the pop-ups enabled. That's a really common question that I get. If people are like, I don't want the pop-up, it's driving me crazy, you can still go up and start it from the beginning, or using that little start timer in the top right. Okay, and then to stop a timer, you just click on it to stop, just like that. Thanks for the demo there. And then the other sneaky place that I wanted to highlight that I found yesterday is, Jody, do you mind going to our task list? So if we're working off of our due today or due this week, and so let's go ahead and actually show that. So from all, let's filter down to due this week. And then if you're using this as your list and you start task or you click on like run payroll in ADP, then you actually have a start timer up at the top there to actually start it, and it auto fills in the client and the close period that you're on. So that's another one that I found that I was like, hey, because this is one that I use quite a bit where I'll just pull up my task list, go down the line from there because it ticks off in my brain a little bit at a time and shows my progress. I can go to the client page if I need to, but you can even start a timer from this, which I thought was a really cool, fun addition there.
And if you click on a
Exactly.
different client, it's going to ask you if you want to switch or end the previous timer. So that timer was set up for Mountain Landscape. This one's like, oh, it's a different client. Let's switch over to that client and you can start the timer. So that's a
Right. I
good
found that
hack
really
there.
nifty. It's very nerdy,
Yes.
but in the weeds, and that's what you're here for, is all the little things that you're like, hey, did you know you could also do this? So fun fact for the day, you can also start it from the tasks if that's the page that you're normally working off of. Short and sweet, just to make sure that anybody else that's getting caught on stuff on time tracking or in other areas of double, we do offer full comprehensive support. So reach out to us at hughesandstrong.com/contact. If you do want to get in touch with us and figure out what services we offer, we do everything from team training all the way to full hands-on support and anything in between. So just wanted to make a call out because some people hop on these and they're like, oh man, this is just the tip of the iceberg of what I need help with. And there's like so many things that I need to get better at in double, or I want, like I should get better at. So reach out to us. We're happy to shoot you in the right direction or get you some free resources if that's a better fit.